And welcome to episode 31 of the Odyssey Hour. So, Haley will be here shortly. For some reason, she figured dinner was more important than being here on time. So
food is important.
It is.
Yep.
In fact, Dave is making spare ribs on the grill right now, which I will then have to wait till after the show because I chose the show over food.
It's dedication.
It's either that or it's something, mental illness maybe. I don't know. Well, anyway, she will be here shortly. So yeah, we'll continue on as if she were here. Sam, unfortunately, is not going to be here tonight. He had family issues, I guess, according to him. But so anyway, welcome. In order to stall while we wait for Haley to hear, let's talk about the Minnesota Para-Unity Convention, which is now like seriously 2 weeks away. I'm half freaking out, just a little bit, because for the first time, you're always going to forget something. You're going to forget something, and that's going to drive me nuts. Because that I don't know if you guys have noticed or not, a little bit of a perfectionist.
Just a little bit.
Which isn't bad. Just means that I pay attention to everything. And I agree, Pam. I probably should have, but you know what? A schedule is a schedule is a schedule, and we need to be here at 8:00 for you, and sometimes literally for you, because you're the only one on. Not right now, though. I just in general sometimes. So yeah. Hey, Pam, how are you? But right. So obviously, as everybody knows, I'm the organizer of this, and little worried at the present moment, but that's okay. Everything's coming together nicely. In fact, as my team knows, we have secured and gotten final permission to add an investigation event onto the end of the convention. So for anybody who buys a ticket, whether 2-day, single day, Lori Johnson, I'm even taking the photo ops as a ticket, even though there's no actual ticket for it. And you were entered into a drawing, and 10 people get to join the Odyssey crew, and as many celebrities as I can rope into it. I'm thinking I can rope at least 4 to showing up for at least an hour, maybe 2, to investigate the William A. Irvin ship. And that's going to be amazing. So if anybody who knows about the ship has ever been on it or has ever wanted to go on it, if you buy a ticket in the month of June, you will be added into this drawing for 10 people to join us on Saturday, July 10th. So after the convention ends. So I'm excited. You guys excited?
That'll be a good time.
Yeah, you guys excited to get back on the ship?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Especially you, Scott, because I mean it's really easy to move around.
Yeah. It's not much worse than other places.
That is true. Some of them are. I think the only one that's actually really bad is the engine room because it's just like ladders. I mean, everything else is like literally stairs, except obviously from the gift shop up to that hole in the roof where all of our equipment has to go. Hey, here's Haley.
Sorry about that.
Hi,
That's all right. We were just talking about dedication to the team and the show as opposed to dedication to food. And who has it and who has it and who doesn't.
Where do I lie?
You do not. It's all right. It's all right. Shockingly, nothing bad's going to happen. There's no consequences to that.
Mm-hmm.
So, but we were just talking about we were stalling to get you here, talking about the convention in 2 weeks. So, and the Irvin investigation that I just announced.
Mm-hmm.
And today, if anybody didn't see it, because I didn't post it on this page, but I just announced Elizabeth Saint. She's now going to be at this convention. If anybody doesn't know who she is, just offhand, she was on Ghost of Shepherdstown. She was the president of VidiSpace, which is the paranormal streaming platform, and is now the CEO of Cosm, Q0SM. Don't ask me how that works, but that's how she has it. So that's going to be fun. I'm glad. She's one of my favorite people in the paranormal field, besides Dustin. Dustin's number one, always. So, all right. So now that we're all here, especially since Sam can't make it, who would like to go first?
I could go first if no one else wants to go.
You are Sam tonight.
Oh God, don't put that pressure on me. Okay, so I would like to ask, and I think Mike, you and Dave have done a show, at least one show on this before. Do you believe in Atlantis? Or are there any lost civilizations or like mythical civilizations that you really, really like and are drawn to?
Don't everybody jump in.
I don't know if I actually believe in Atlantis. I would love to believe in it. I would love to think that it actually existed. I think there's a good chance that it did, despite the fact that most scientists say it didn't. But they keep finding these lost cities underwater in different places all over the world. So it wouldn't surprise me if one of them were Atlantis, or if they're eventually going to find one that is Atlantis. I don't know. I don't know if it was as advanced as they claim it was, but I think Atlantis is a very cool idea, and I would like to think that it does exist, and I would like to find out more about it. It did.
Yeah, I'm with Scott on that one. I don't really know a ton about it other than, the basics that it's an underwater city. But I certainly think it's a really cool idea and would like to believe in it, and I'm open to learning more about it, because honestly, I just don't really know much. In terms of like other civilizations, I don't really know of many, if any at all, because Atlantis is just what comes to mind. But yeah, I think that's a really cool concept, and like if there's if I'm presented with good evidence that it exists, I'm willing to, be curious about it and believe it. Troy, that's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, Lost City of Troy. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I disappeared there. I wanted to go find my research that I had for that show. So obviously I know a little bit more about Atlantis, although it doesn't really stick in the brain because why would it? But so looking over some of these things, I'm like, I have no idea why I wrote any of this. So Atlanta was first written about in Plato, or by Plato, in 359 BC. So it's been around for a very, very, very long time. But when he was writing it in 359 BC, he was writing about this civilization known as Atlantis that existed 9,000 years prior to him. So huge, obviously, way, way, way back. Although most scholars believe that Atlantis is a fictional story. It was just something that he made up. There have been several scholars who kind of say the different aspects of it are in fact, like hieroglyphs that confirm the story. They're saying it's an island bigger than Libya. I think that's Libya. And Asia Minor combined. I don't know if you guys know how big Libya and Asia Minor are. Apparently it's bigger than that. There's I think a lot of people think that there's something else called the Pillars of Hercules, which I think actually is fact, but they think that's actually in the Gulf of Laconia. But they think that is what Plato was describing when he was talking about Atlantis, as this Pillars of Hercules. And the thing about it is that everybody has a different idea of where the hell it is. Some people believe it's the Mediterranean Sea, places like Crete and Cyprus, Sicily, Atlantic Ocean, the Canary Islands, the Azores. Is that how you pronounce that? Yeah, the Azores. I mean, I think some people even believe that it's like in Antarctica or Northern Europe, or it's, the Atlantis is actually what is causing the Bermuda Triangle. It's all over the place. And I think there are definitely certain aspects of Atlantis that people will find. In fact, I have a whole bunch things here of, like they thought Atlanteans somehow found some way of traveling to other parts of the globe, and like they became the Mayans and the Aztecs, like they're descendants of the Atlanteans. Yeah, I mean, there was a UK-based group that claimed to have discovered the ruins of Atlantis off the coast of Spain. Probably not. But yeah, it's just, I think it's just one of those things where it's like Bigfoot. We have tons of stories and we have tons of people who claim to be experts and know about it, and yet there's no solid evidence that it exists. For me personally, I have to say that I think that it's probably half true, half false. I don't think there was a legitimate Atlantean civilization, but I think there were definitely ruins or little cities or pockets of civilization that I think people could have taken for it, and they exaggerated things. Maybe Plato was doing historical fiction, taking a place that he had come across and just exaggerated everything to make it this beautiful, highly advanced civilization. So, Kath has, oh yeah. Well, I'm not even going to get into that because that is so far out in left field. Ain't worth. If you guys want to know what I was going to move it on to, we'll do that off the air. But yeah, other civilizations, I would like them. Well, I would like it to where, I know we're discovering like Mayan temples and stuff like that have been sitting there for thousands of years undiscovered, and they're huge. And there's no reason that we can't see them, but we're not. I would like it to be where they're like their civilization moved on, but like underground, and we're just kind of like on top of them. I think that'd be kind of cool. But otherwise, yeah, no, not really.
Isn't that kind of like the what is that book, The City of Ember? Did you ever read that?
Do you think I ever read it?
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, but it's basically the civilization is underground and there's a whole city underground.
Yeah.
It's a cool book.
I saw the movie. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, if it got turned into a movie, I'm sure I probably saw the movie.
Yeah, it was a good movie.
No,
but yeah,
haven't read it, never saw it, but
I would recommend it, at least the movie, because I know you're not a huge book guy. You'd rather see the movie. But
excuse me, what makes you think that I'm not a book guy?
didn't we have a whole conversation where you said you'd rather see the movie first than read the book if you like the movie?
Depends on the movie. It depends on the book. That doesn't mean that I'm not a book guy.
Okay,
I like
besides
books.
the point. It's a good movie. If you haven't seen it, you guys should see the movie. I like it. But anyway.
I'll take poor assumptions for 800, Alex.
R.I.P. Alex. I miss him.
Yeah, we all do.
Anyway, I am very much on the same page as you, Mike, with Atlantis. I believe there definitely are some lost civilizations that either we haven't discovered any ruins of, or maybe there aren't any ruins of. I don't think that everything you hear about Atlantis is necessarily true. It could be so off base. They're literally just conjuring up some kind of lost civilization, and they tried to make it all like, just like this magical place that existed. Like we don't know that, but yeah, I honestly love it if it did exist. I don't think people have a clue where it is because there's so many theories about where it is. So there's obviously no consensus. I did love the Atlantis movie, the Disney movie. Again, shout out to that movie. That's a good movie. Again, that is nothing like, I think even if there was an Atlantis, I don't think it'd be anything like that. It's very romanticized and everything like that. So I'm not convinced it exists at this point, but like Haley said, if you presented me with evidence, I could be swayed.
The only problem with that is, which sucks, is every single time they come up, they discover some, lost civilization like Pompeii, something like that. If it's anywhere near water, they're like, hey, I think I just discovered Atlantis. Like everybody, sooner or later, they're going to discover something and they're just going to call it Atlantis. Whether it actually is or not is going to be immaterial. They're just going to call it that. Hey, we discovered it. Make me rich. I'm going to write a book, which I'll then read.
Because he reads.
Because I read.
Yeah. I hope it's Josh Gates that finds it. That'd be awesome.
Well, he's already been on one show of Expedition Unknown was about people who thought that they had discovered Atlantis. So he has already done it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm actually surprised that he hasn't been part of the Curse of Oak Island yet. But that's probably a contract thing. He can't interfere with another show. But I digress. Anybody have anything else to add for that one?
Another civilization I'd be interested in is the Anasazi. I would like to visit their caves.
But that's not we actually know those. Like they still exist. You can go out there and visit them. I did a show on them. Like they're I guess the question is, were you talking about lost civilizations or just civilizations from a long time ago? Maybe I misunderstood the question.
I was referencing lost civilizations, but I mean civilizations from a long time ago. We also don't know all that much, so either way.
I agree with you, Scott, though, because Dave and I did a show on them, And that was a hell of a lot of mystery to them too, especially how they just, for the most part, I think in like 25 years, they just vanished. They went from thousands of people. I can't remember. I'm not going to go look for my research on that one, but they went from thousands in like 25 years to just being gone. Like they left their homes, all of their stuff behind. Like the people who found it later or whatever found dishes and silverware still on the tables. Like they just seem to up and leave. Like and nobody understands why. They built roads to nowhere that just ended. So I mean, they left a lot of mystery behind them. So I agree with you, Scott. Not necessarily a lost civilization, but one hugely shrouded in mystery. That's for sure. I'm with you on that one. All right, who wants to go next?
I can go.
Sweet. Okay,
so I don't think we've talked about this, but if we have, then I guess cut me off. So I saw, this was like several weeks ago, I saw a Twitter thread where some people were talking about, and I don't know if you guys have heard of this at all, but like cases in which people think that their house is haunted or a building is haunted, but it turns out that it's just like carbon monoxide poisoning, because that can cause hallucinations and cause people to hear things and whatnot. I don't know if you guys have heard of that at all, because I was reading this thread. It was interesting. There was a few people saying like, yeah, I was convinced my house was haunted, and it turns out it was carbon monoxide. So I guess I'm just curious, like, do you guys have thoughts on that? Like, that's something investigators should keep in mind before they go into a house, or like, should we recommend to people that they make sure to check that before they get a team called in? I guess if you have any thoughts on it, I'm just curious.
Yeah, I mean, I think as investigators, part of our job is to look into any natural explanation for the alleged reports and anything that the homeowner or whatever you have, whoever may be experiencing. I don't think we test for carbon monoxide, but Mike, maybe that's something you ask about when you're first talking to people. I don't know. I mean, I've definitely heard of that because it can have an effect on the human brain. So it can make you think something's going on and it's really not. But yeah, it's definitely something that we as investigators should look for, because it's a natural explanation to something that's happening. So if you can explain it, it's going to make the homeowner or the venue location owner, whatever you have, it's going to make them feel a little more comfortable because they know it's not real. There's an explanation for it.
Scott?
Yeah. Yeah, what Lauren said. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, we should check on any possibilities when we go to investigate a place, to see what might be going on there. That with the carbon monoxide, some people may experience that. Some, I've had carbon monoxide poisoning. I didn't experience that, but it could be a side effect for some people. But yeah, anything that could be a possible explanation, we should check for it when we're doing something.
Yeah, I agree. So as much as I would love to take credit for doing that, my focus has always been on EMF. I just figured if somebody has a carbon monoxide leak in their house, they're probably just going to die. So they will become the case, so to speak. However, if it's a slow leak, not enough, obviously, to kill somebody, then yeah, that's actually something that should be done. So what I was just doing right now is on Amazon. I was looking up carbon monoxide detectors. But I mean, honestly, like here, ever since I moved in, really ever since I've had my own house. Somebody, has told me get a carbon monoxide detector. So I have one that just plugs into the wall and just keeps going and going and going and going and going. So I don't see that as being a bad idea at all. Maybe getting one of those, or even battery detected. And even during the investigation, during the walkthrough, just plugging it in, turning it on, and letting it do its thing. Obviously, if we're spending 4 or 5 hours, 6 hours in a residence, and that thing goes off, because it registers carbon monoxide, we might have just solved the thing right there. So it's actually a really good idea, and I will buy one, and we will use it. Not anything we need to brag about, but but it is something, because you're right. It is a natural occurrence. I just, again, never gave it much credence, because I figured it was either not there or you're dead. There's not really much of an in between. Yeah. And so I've always focused on EMF, because that has the exact same things, nausea, hallucinations, rashes, the feelings of being watched, the paranoia. I mean, that's all EMF. But if there's no EMF, but there is carbon monoxide, you might get the same things. So very, very good point. I'm a little upset that I didn't think about that.
I should try to find the Twitter thread again, because it was interesting, and I had that had never occurred to me. And I think most people probably do have a detector in their house. I know I do, but I mean, if someone doesn't, they might have no idea if it's a really slow leak,
Yeah, no, so. Yeah, exactly. The gas leak and stuff like that. I would expect that. I think I would expect that more with like an older home that has like an older furnace, stuff like that. I mean, and there could definitely just be people who don't think of it. So yeah, very, very good point. I will take care of that. Scott.
Yes, Mike?
You're up, buddy.
The other day I read something on there's a Facebook page called Hauntings in the Paranormal. And they had a question on there. And I thought, well, I'll bring it to the group. Because the person wrote, the experiences that have always puzzled me are that the paranormal seems to always occur when you least expect it. Has this been your experiences as well? This is regardless of the reputation of the location as being haunted or not. So I think the question is, if you, it happens when you least expect it. It's like if you go looking for it, you probably won't find it. If you're not looking, it's probably going to show up. What do you think about that?
I don't know if that's necessarily my immediate thought. I guess, you can live your whole life not expecting it and still nothing happens. And then you do move into a house. And again, you're not even thinking about it, and it happens. It's there. But that's the thing about the paranormal that, one, interests me, and two, is something that I think shows a lot in the TV shows, is the paranormal is unpredictable. You can't get things to happen on command. And you're right. Sometimes if you go in looking for something, you may not find it, especially at maybe a notoriously haunted location that somebody's like, oh, every night this apparition walks down the hallway. Like we went at Farrar, and I think the property owner said, if you stare at this one point at night, something will appear, and nothing happened. So it could go either way. I don't know if it's necessarily true that it happens when you least expect it. I think it just happens, if you're expecting it or not. I mean, it's unpredictable in that way. So that's my thoughts.
Yeah. I think saying that it always happens when you don't expect it, it's a bit of a stretch to me. But I do think there could be some truth to that. Like, you know, when we go in to investigate a place, it might not be half as active as the person who lives there claims it is, just because we're expecting it to be active. Did I freeze there?
A little bit.
Am I still frozen?
Nope, we can hear
Okay.
you.
Sick. I lost my train of thought. Oh no. But yeah, like we might go into a place expecting it to be haunted and active because someone says it is, and then it isn't. So yeah, I guess there's some truth to that, but I don't know that I necessarily think that's the truth. I think I agree with Lauren that like it kind of just happens. It's unpredictable, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to always be unexpected. Yeah.
I find that question to be idiotic. Only because nobody goes about their life expecting the paranormal to happen. Like, I don't walk out to my kitchen and be like, I'm expecting a ghost to appear. Like, nobody does that. You know, and even when you go, if you are intentionally going into, Edinburgh or Farrar or whatever to have an experience, I still don't think anybody expects anything to happen. They're just hoping something is going to happen. You know, and you have every single owner of every haunted location that tells you flat out the spirits do not work on command. They do their own thing. There's no guarantee you're going to expect anything. You know, so if you're not an investigator, though, and just judging by the fact that this person asked this question, I'm going to assume they're not. You know, nobody goes about their life expecting the paranormal to happen. So every time something happens, it's unexpected. So it's just kind of rhetorical nonsense to ask a question like that. The spirits do their own thing, whether you're expecting it or not. I really do not think it makes any sort of difference. They do their thing just like we do. That's like me walking out of my house. Like, every time that I get hit in the head with a baseball, I'm not expecting it. Well, no shit. You know, it's just, why would you expect it? Why would that happen? To begin with, where I would. So I don't like that. I don't like that question. I just think that the person that asked it, which I guess is why they asked it, doesn't know what they're talking about. And yeah, so my answer is it's not either one. It's not expected or unexpected. It just happens. I think that's what Lauren was talking about. It's going to happen when it happens. Doesn't matter if you're there or not. So yeah, that's mine. Scott, what about you?
Yeah, I don't have anything to add to what you guys said.
Always the scholar. So, all right. I am not sure how this topic is going to be taken, because it has a very political and religious aspects to it. However, if you'll grant me some leeway, I will show why it matters to what we do. So I am bringing up the topic of abortion. And let me give you some context as to why. Now, way back when I was in my early 20s, I was driving back and forth from the cities to Eau Claire for work and living. And for years, and it might even still be there. There's like a cement manufacturer that's right along I-94. And for years, every time I would go past it, there was this sign that always said, "Smile, your mother was pro-life," which always made me mad, but whatever. They can have whatever beliefs and do whatever they want with their property. I just pass it along and roll my eyes and go on down the road. And we really can't go on any sort of trip where we're not seeing the signs. There's like, my heartbeat, was 18 weeks, blah, blah, blah. So interestingly, yesterday, when I went to take Becky's ATV back, I was going to the post office before I got on the road, and I got behind a truck, and it had a bumper sticker on it that says, "You can't be Catholic and pro-abortion." And then I got on the road, and then Fridley, like this huge effing digital billboard, it said God is pro-life. And it was like Mary and Joseph Foundation or something like that was doing it. And I got angry at that time because it was like 2 bombardments right in, like a half hour. But the reason that this matters, and I'm not trying to get political, I'm not trying to rate on anybody's beliefs, but we do, and Lauren and Scott can back me up on this, especially since with our last case, we do encounter spirits that still hold their beliefs, and that people that move in, if they somehow go against them or live their life in a different way, that spirit gets more active and more aggressive because they're pissed at the sin or any of this stuff is going on in what they consider to be their home. So 2 questions on this one. One, since our take on things matter, because that would, be based on the questions that we ask, the mentality that we have when we go in. What is your take on the whole thing in general? And what do you think is the best way of handling like those type of paranormal situations where you are dealing with a spirit that has a different belief system than the people who are living there, or even us? So now do you see, Scott, why I was like, I really, I really want to hear yours.
Yeah.
But if somebody else wants to go first, but Scott collects his thoughts.
It's a big question.
It is. It
Yeah.
is.
Okay, so just so I'm clear, the first part of the question, Mike, you're asking what we think of spirits, like, and having like opposite beliefs to them.
No, that's the second one, really. No, the first one is just, what is your take on the whole, like, like God is pro-life and you can't be Catholic and pro,
okay.
Like that, the actual topic itself.
Okay.
And then second is, if you encounter a spirit with a different belief system like that, I mean, it doesn't have to like pertain specifically to the abortion topic. But just in general, when we get to a case where we might be dealing with a spirit that just has a different belief system, how do you think we should best deal with it?
Okay. Gotcha.
Easy questions.
Simple.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah. One word answers, of course.
Yeah.
I honestly have struggled with this question because I am a Catholic, and I have gone, like, I've had conversations with a lot of people on different sides of the spectrum, and I've tried to like think it over, weigh my options here, and what my faith is telling me to believe and what I think is personally right and wrong. And honestly, I've come down to the just belief that every situation is unique. Everybody is different. What is best for everybody is different. Therefore, I don't think it's okay for somebody else that knows nothing about your situation to tell you what you can and can't do with your body. That is your choice. So I think for now, which I know a lot of Catholics would probably cringe at me saying this, but I think every woman has the right to choose what they want to do with their body, and it's not fair to push one's beliefs on the whole United States, because let's be honest, we're a melting pot. That is for sure. Everybody has different beliefs, everybody has different value systems. And I don't think one widespread answer is what's best for everybody in every single situation. Moving on from that, I do think it's really interesting when we encounter people that have passed on that are still hanging around that are disapproving of living people's values or belief systems, whatever you have. I think in that situation, it's very important to draw the boundary, because their life has since passed. They should realize where their place is. It might not be a pleasant experience for somebody to sit down and explain that to the spirit that is maybe overstepping their boundaries and even harming somebody in the house that they believe is doing something wrong. At that point, know where your boundaries are. Your life has started and ended. You're good. You did what you can. It's time for you to move on. You don't need to be imposing on whoever is living there. They can do what they want. That is their world, not yours. So I think in that case, boundaries are very important. That would be, it's in my mind, again, I'm sorry, I'm probably rambling, but it's not fair to impose your beliefs on somebody else, no matter where you are. I don't think that's right. I don't think really anybody is justified in that unless it's a very serious case and there's like something like some horrible human rights violation going on. But yeah, I mean, I'll let somebody else talk.
No, I don't think you were rambling. You were saying good things.
Okay.
I would have stopped you if you were.
Yes. I guess to answer the first part, I'm strongly pro-choice. And I think people need to be careful not to mix up pro-choice with pro-abortion, because it's not at all the same. I'm pro that it's none of my business. A lot of what Lauren said, every situation is unique. What one person needs to do might be different from what someone else wants to do. And, I don't know that I necessarily believe that a fetus is a life form. I mean, I guess for me, it's like, I sure as hell don't remember being in the womb. None of us do. But if someone wants to believe that, then I obviously can't stop them. But yeah, strongly pro-choice for sure. And I have been for a long time. And I hate that sign that says smile because your mom was pro-life, because mine is not. And I know a lot of mothers who aren't pro-life. So it's just stupid. But anyway, that makes me mad. I'm trying to not get heated. So to kind of address the second part, I do think you kind of have to first approach it with how you would, I guess, approach any situation where someone has some sort of different beliefs, which is, try to have an open conversation about it like we are now. If we were aware that a spirit was strongly pro-life or something like that, then maybe we can try to talk to them like we are talking now. However, as I'm sure many of you have tried to have conversations about politics, usually doesn't go super smoothly, or you're not really convincing anyone of anything if someone has a very strong belief. So I guess I do like what Lauren said about, like, you do have to kind of be able to set a boundary and be like, you lived your life. This is not your place anymore. If this spirit is going to continue to cause trouble over a political belief or what have you, some sort of disagreement. So yeah, I think that summarizes my thoughts.
Scott.
Okay. First of all, anti-abortion and pro-life are absolutely not the same thing. Just because somebody's anti-abortion does not make them pro-life. And when I was in school studying theology and ministry and everything else, it was never taught to us that abortion is always wrong. It was what we, in studying that and studying morality and ethics and everything, what we learned was that abortion should not be used as a form of birth control. Now, if you don't want to have a baby, use birth control. Don't get an abortion. It's use the birth control in the first place so that you don't get pregnant. Apart from that, there are times when abortion is appropriate and should be done when the mother's life is in danger, in the case of rape, and in other situations, abortion is appropriate and morally justifiable, which was sort of. But if you're truly pro-life, you have to be considering not only the life of the unborn child, but the life of the mother, you need to be anti-war. You have to be in favor, considering well, how is this child's life going to be when it's growing up? We have to support the child while it's growing up. We have to provide with education, food. We need to be anti-poverty in order to be pro-life. We need to do all of these things that promote people's life from the time they're born until the time they die. We need to help the elderly. We need to help veterans. All of that is part of pro-life. And something else I was going to say. What was it? Well, as far as spirits having when we investigate having the different belief systems, they're welcome to their belief systems. I'm not really concerned about what they believe or don't believe, as long as they treat the people who live there now in a decent manner and be respectful to them and be as respectful to the people who are living there now as they expect the people who live there to be respectful to them as the past residents. Now it's a matter of respect to the living and the deceased. So whatever the spirit's beliefs may have been, they need to be decent to the people who live there now. And if they aren't, then we may have to do a cleansing or something because if the spirit has this belief in it's anti-abortion, but they're not into respecting the lives of the people who live there now, then they are not pro-life, and they need to be expelled from the residence if that's what it takes to protect the people who live there now.
You know what I love about that, Scott, is you actually got very animated. You don't usually get animated, but that was like getting you going, and I like that. In a good way, but no, and I agree with all of you. What makes me mad, and this is why when I saw like you can't be Catholic and pro-abortion, like I actually started screaming at my windshield, because being pro-choice, as you said, Haley, does not mean you're pro-abortion. Being, Smiley, your mom was pro-life. No, she wasn't. She was pro-choice. She chose life. That was her choice that she made. And that's what, irritates the crap out of me, especially about the ones God is pro-choice or pro-life. Because the one thing that every single religious person ever will always say is the greatest thing God gave us was the free will to choose. Not to choose his way, but just to choose. But these are also the people who, like when people like to blame God for hurricanes and tornadoes and deaths and murder, Scott, I think you was either last week, maybe it was some conversation recently where even you said, no, we did that. We chose to do all of that. And I love what you said about being pro-life, Scott. And that wasn't part of what I was going to say, but I 100% wanted to back that up, because I love the people who will defend a fetus and not saying that it shouldn't, but they're 100% pro-life, but they'll carry guns around happy to shoot anybody that pisses them off.
Mm-hmm.
But they're adults, so that's okay. Apparently, you can't be pro-life and take a life and think you're okay.
Mm-hmm.
You can't even be pro-life, in my opinion, and go out hunting deer and bears and going on safari. They have lives too.
Mm-hmm.
So apparently it's pro-life, but only the lives you want to believe in or that you want to think matter. And if you don't think that they matter, well, then that's okay. You can take those lives, and that's not going to interfere with how much you love God. It's hypocritical bullshit. And I even though I'm not all of that, I'm not all much religious. You guys know this. You guys can have your beliefs. I have absolutely no problem with any of them. Everybody's free to believe what they want to believe. But when you pervert and you corrupt what should be an amazing message, an amazing mentality, and even the religion to this, I can't stand it. And yeah, so I yell at my windshield a lot. But so to answer the second question, now I actually said this when we left the reveal to you and Scott on Saturday, because we had a case like this. It had nothing to do with abortion, but it was a potential belief system that differed from what the current homeowners were living, that we thought was the pretense to all of the activity that was going on, or at least a good portion of it. And I said, I'm like, I don't care if she likes it. She needs to accept it. And Lauren, you were exactly right. You have to set that boundary. And if they cannot get past it, then they're the ones that are going to have to go. Whether I believe what they believe or not, maybe there's some good Catholic spirit there in the home as a bunch of Satanists. I don't believe in the Satanists. I don't particularly want to help them. Plus, they probably wouldn't call out anyway. Well, anyway, let's just say for the sake of thing, it's a different opposite one. We have to protect the living, but we can still try and keep that balance. But the balance always has to tip. No, I'm going to change that. Not always, because I remember the case that we don't talk about. The spirits are right in that one. But then again, that wasn't necessarily like a different religious belief. That was just stupidity at its finest. So there's a difference there. But yeah, it's got to come to terms with what is going on there. And if they don't, they're probably going to have to go. Well, good conversation. I'm sorry that I chose that one. It was just very relevant and very recent and if you watch a lot of the reenactments shows and whatnot, you will always come across some case where the spirit was pissed because usually it's homosexuality. the two guys, two girls, whatever, are in the house, and that is what they have the problem with. And they act up and they attack and they try to get them off because they're just absolutely mad that they are sinning in their house, even though they're not doing anything wrong. Paranormal investigators come across those investigations all the time. So how we deal with that is a big part of how we do things as a team. So I just kind of want to get that out in the open using this recent anger strike. But yeah, does anybody have anything quick?
Like another question?
Sure. Yeah, 4 minutes.
I found one. All right, hang on, let me find it. Oh, okay. So our team follows this one Instagram page that posts a lot of paranormal questions to get some responses and get people talking. And I thought this was kind of a fun question. Oh, shoot, I just lost it. Okay, so what is one thing you have either seen or heard on an investigation that was unusual or strange to you? Whether it be something that the spirits did or another investigator or just something that struck you as very odd.
As another investigator?
You never know. You never know.
That's very true.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
If you can think of something specific, it's okay if you can't.
I can go if somebody wants to think.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Because this is a pretty quick story. I was, in case she's here watching, I was going to tell the story of Becky exploding when the periscope went off at Farrar, because that was hilarious, but I won't. So my third investigation ever, not as this team, just ever, was at a cemetery. I think I've probably told this story before. I know I told the story to you guys. I just don't know if I told the story on air. At a cemetery, just north of the cities. Dave and I were down. It was four of us, Dave, Jake, Steve, and myself. I was with Dave. We were down below this hill underneath a grove of trees. They were on the other side of the cemetery. Well, we were coming close to the end of our session. And I kind of looked up the hill, maybe 50 yards or so, something like that. And I saw Steve and Jake just at the top of the hill, just doing their thing. Didn't pay him any mind, continue with the session. About 10 minutes later, we were ending. And we started walking back to the car, and I saw Steve walking down the hill towards us. So I'm thinking in my head, what is he going to tell us? That sort of thing. Until he walked behind a tree and never came back out. And stopped dead in my tracks. It was like, Dave? I'm like, what? Where are Jake and Steve? And at that time, like that exact moment, Steve took a photo, which had a flash. And they were about 300 yards on the other side of the cemetery. So that was my first apparition. Pretty much my only apparition, like full-bodied apparition. I've seen little whiffs of legs and stuff like that since, but never a full-bodied. So I'm gonna go with that. Even though I have seen a lot of investigators do some pretty weird shit.
I can't decide on the story.
Okay. Well, I can go ahead.
Go ahead, Scott.
While you're thinking, I don't know if it's weird so much as it is some things that really annoy me that I've seen in investigations. Like when we were at Ashmore and that person was screaming so that she could be heard 2 states away because of the bats flying through. Um, um,
Yeah, you weren't there for that one, Lauren.
That I would have remembered that. I don't remember that.
And another one is when we were at the last time we were at Dubuque. We had the celebrity with us who
The
thought
celebrity.
who thought he was more of a celebrity than I thought he was, but but he had these different contraptions with him, and all through the night he was, oh, did you hear that? It said this. I didn't say anything. I mean, you're making this up as you go along, guy. Yeah, the machine is going, and he's saying, oh, it said this. It didn't say that at all. No, that really annoys me. It's, when somebody does that, especially when it's somebody who supposedly knows what they're doing. Oh, so that's a couple of things.
Yes, Scott, I remember that one. Yeah. Oh my god, I just had it and then it left my brain. I mean, I guess I don't think this was one that I was on, but one unusual piece of evidence we have is like a ghost fart, which is always fun. The toot. Or I think we have a belch as well.
Yes, that happened at Ashmore. Yeah.
Yeah, and then another, I guess, weird thing that I don't like when investigators do this is like using phone apps when you're investigating. I'm just really not a big fan, and I'm just like, I don't know, I just can't.
They give me a twitch. Yeah.
Yeah. Makes my, exactly, blood pressure spike.
Yeah. Lauren, what about you?
I feel like I've only been on 6 investigations at this point, so I feel like
Hey, hold on. I have dealt with a lot of investigators who by this time think they're experts.
I'm by no means an expert.
Right. Well, that's because you're smart.
Thank you. But I mean, specifically on the TV shows, a lot of the time what I see is people, so-called investigators, go into places and are like, please don't let anything happen. Please don't let anything happen. And I'm like, what? Why are you here? Why? I don't understand. That pisses me off to no end. I'm like, then don't be on a TV show where you call yourself a paranormal investigator. It's just no.
Agreed. Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah. That's the one unusual thing I find. Well, I mean, there's many unusual things, but that's the one that immediately comes to mind.
Okay. Well, even though we're past 9:00, we do have a question that I would like to answer before we go. So, Josh has written in, what do you think of spirit boxes and are they reliable?
Well, good thing Sam's not here.
I'm here, so you're going to get the same answer anyway.
Yeah. My answer is I'm not a huge fan. I don't mind doing a session with it. But I think that people are a little too willing to read into whatever random sound comes out of it. We've had a few that I've liked, like the from Leduc, or I think there was one where it said I'm scared at Leduc and it was very clear. But I'm pretty skeptical of them unless I hear something that's really, really clear. Otherwise, I don't know that I find them to be super reliable.
Either one of you?
I agree with Haley. I like the idea of them more than I like the actual experience of them. Once in a while, they come up with something that's very obviously clear. Like I've heard different times where they said Mike's name, or they said my name, or something very clear comes out. But most of the time, it's garbled nothing that comes out of them, and most of the time I don't trust them. or even trust myself to hear what I want to hear or what's actually there. So.
Yeah, I would agree with both of you. I think they're very loud, and usually not easy to make out what somebody's saying, and very easy to matrix it into something else. Because of all the background noise that's going on. Because, I mean, if anybody's been in a spirit box session, like actually been there, not just seen it on TV, you know it's loud. It's very loud. There's a lot of noise. It's like you're overstimulated in a way because of all the noise that's going on. So I would agree with both of you that it has to be very clear and easy to tell what it's saying for it to be even somewhat convincing to me. I have heard a lot of people say that it's through radio waves, and because of that, you can get people or spirits from not the location that you're in. You can get them from other places. So therefore, even if something does come through, it might not be reliable or even relevant to what you're doing. So there is that to take into consideration. So, yeah.
All right. Let me stretch. There we go. I hate spirit boxes. I really do. I own 2 of them, and I use them as sparingly as possible, for a couple of reasons. One, and I actually had this conversation just the other night with a lady. They're so exceptionally easy to misunderstand. And when you misunderstand them, they lead you down a path of questions that has absolutely nothing to do with anything. If you ask a question of like, did you murder, Mr. Peacock, or whatever, and all you get is, bleh, but you hear, yeah, then every question after that is going to be a follow-up to the question that you thought you just got a yes to, which you didn't. And that has happened so many times. And that's what's so, I don't want to say demoralizing, but it's so aggravating is when you listen to the audio afterwards, when you're doing evidence review and you get to that part and you were so sure you got a yes. And it's not even close, but that's what you heard. You just feel like you lost everything after that. Like you had tons of opportunities to go other directions to maybe get an actual response, but you didn't because you misunderstood this one. That happens all the time. What also happens, and this is why so many people love them, is you hear what you are told to hear. They do it on the shows all the time. They put the words right on the screen, what you're supposed to hear. And there have been many, many times where I've seen the words, but I know better than to hear that, just because they're told, and I'll go back or they'll do the replay. And I'm like, that is not what that says. Mm-hmm. But they want you to think that way because it fits into their show. Mm-hmm. So you have to be exceptionally careful on that one. We do get some very clear responses. Haley mentioned the yeah. I mean, it was very clear, very relevant to what we were doing. And an exact answer to a question that was asked. That is when they're good, but they are so rare when you get something that clear. I don't know if we've gotten one that clear since, to be honest with you. Although there were a lot of investigations where I didn't even bring it out. So that's on me. I will use it to try to get a confirmation from the spirits after a private investigation. We do a deal. We want to make sure everybody is on the same page. I will try to get that response from them by using the spirit box. Otherwise, it really doesn't even come out. Pam mentioned the SD sessions, and Kindred Spirits is notorious for those. Like that was where it became all popular, because they started to use it. The only problem with it is you don't get to hear what she hears or what he hears. They just start throwing out words. And you have no way to confirm if she heard that properly. I know it may like actually pertain to his question, but you never know if it actually got heard correctly or not. I did have a friend of mine who did an Esty session. She's not a paranormal investigator. I think it was probably like maybe the second time she'd even done a spirit box session in general, but she started throwing out words or whatever. Well, the people who were asking the questions like, oh, that must have been in reference to what we did last night. I mean, and it was such a vague answer that they then took that and molded it into what they wanted it to be. And people do that too. I think they're detrimental to an actual investigation. If you want to like blow your mind, if you want to go and just have fun and you don't give a shit if it's correct or not, have at it. They're great for that. They're great for that instant gratification. If that's what you are after, you can use a spirit box. Lauren, you mentioned like the radio waves, and Josh was talking about how the spirit boxes have no microphones. Well, they don't use the microphones. They don't actually speak into the box like a digital recorder. I was told that the radio waves thing is actually incorrect, that it's just kind of like what they call the ether, just the energy of the world they're able to put their stuff into, which goes. So yeah, you can be talking to a spirit that's over in Australia if you want, which is another reason I don't like using them, because I want to talk to what's there. You know, that's why I'm there, to talk to the spirits who are in that location. I don't give a shit if you're some guy named Wally from the Stanley Hotel that wants to come in and say hi. That's not why I'm there, but it can happen. And so are they reliable? No. Can they be useful? Yes. So take everything with a grain of salt. If you have any sort of trouble figuring out what is being said, you're probably wrong. And you should just move on to the next one. Okay. If there are no more questions, sweet. We got something from the chat. I like that. Where have you been all this time, Pam? Just kidding. Love you, Pam. All right. Well, if nobody has anything else, okay. That does it for us this week. Thank you for joining us and sticking with us for this extra 15 minutes. Just want to make sure everybody gets their questions answered if they want to actually hear them. So we will see you next week. I'm going to go get some spare ribs. And because I'm dedicated, Haley. So yeah, we'll see everybody next week. Stay healthy, stay safe. Get yourself the vaccine if you haven't yet. We want to see you back here next week.